what happened in this one is that the Mahadra Adrana frequency buffer that the E-LAi races had activated successfully in 22,003 to 26 BC had progressively been being used to bring portions of the phantom matrix back into natural alignment, and the invader races had to do something about it. They invaded and they took out what is called the emerald seal. On the other diagram, the emerald seal was actually the activator crystal for the Mahadra Adrana, the gates, the arc gates that go with that. So the emerald seal was a nemesis to these guys. They put in something called the ruby seal to block and neutralize the emerald seal. So the Mahadra Adrana frequency buffer could no longer work. Once that buffer came down in 13,400, immediately the top spirals in the particle universe went into 0 point stasis with the wormhole, because remember, they had been left at 11 4/9 wormhole counterclockwise, 11 4/9 top spiral clockwise. So they stopped. The shield stopped spinning. The Merkaba field stopped spinning, the top spirals only. The bottom spiral, the bottom spiral continued to spin on its usual 7 7/9 counterclockwise. The shield stopped spinning when the top spirals did. It stopped and then reversed. Now these stopped and went into stasis, into like a static state. But the magnetic portions of the shield would continue to make it rotate, but it reversed its rotation to follow the bottom spiral. So the shield rotated counterclockwise when it was supposed to rotate clockwise. The density shield was supposed to rotate clockwise in the particle universe. So it was reversed to counterclockwise at 7 7/9, which was the speed that the bottom spiral was going on. The 7 7/9, or it's like 7.999 or something like that. It comes out 7.8, what is it? 7.8 recurring? Yeah, 7.88888. So it is like 7 7/9. All right, that's where they get that 7.8 hertz core vibration of the planetary, and it's also in the solar core vibration is running at increments of the 7.8. That's where they get this. When they stopped the top spirals and the shield reversed to the same spin as the bottom, which is 7 7/9, you ended up with a 7.8 hertz core vibration pattern, or time pulse, that was running the planet. He also ended up with a static net field. Now, the intruder races did this in order to stop the E-LAi from fixing phantom, from bringing it back into the natural spiral through the Mahadra Adrana frequency buffer. However, once they stopped the top spirals, it also stopped the rotation of their vortices. But it was worth it to them, because they were going to lose the game completely if they let us keep taking and healing the phantom things and putting them back where they belonged. They'd never reach critical mass. We'd eventually overwhelm them, particularly with the heliothallics, and we could have cleared their wormhole. So even though they knew it would shut down their own mechanisms for a time, they could at least freeze it here, where when the next stellar activation cycle came, they could very aggressively activate their beast machine to make sure the spirals continued their process. Because once that static net let go, there was a chain reaction that would happen that would have the whole thing. Once these were reversed, you let go of this net. These used to be stopped, right? They would start rotating just like the shield and just like the bottom spiral. They would go into a same spin spiral set. And then the 34 vortex over here would accelerate it up to a 34 counterclockwise same spin spiral set, and it would be happening over there on the 21 clockwise same spin spiral set. So they were trying to form two smaller anti-Christos Merkaba fields out of our planetary and solar galactic Merkaba fields. This process has been set in motion. Now what it did, I'll do this quickly if I can, what happened when all of this occurred, when the shield stopped, reversed to 7 7/9 counterclockwise like the bottom spiral and the top spiral stopped, it created what's called monadic reversal on the planetary and solar galactic level. The D13 monad, which is the D13 primal light field currents, reversed to counterclockwise, to clockwise. In the particle universe, they're supposed to be counterclockwise, which reversed the D1 shield to, it's supposed to be excuse me, I'll have to do this slower. The D13 monadic shield in the particle universe is supposed to be counterclockwise. It was reversed to clockwise, which reversed the D1 shield from its natural clockwise to counterclockwise. The D3 shield also reversed from clockwise to counterclockwise following this spin. The density shield also reversed to counterclockwise, but when this process was set in motion, the D2 shield was held from reversing. Normally, when the monad goes, all of the shields are going to reversal. But it was held and prevented from reversing when the monad went, which created its own natural multi-level static field, because you ended up with positive or negative and negative charged electrical charges pushing against each other, literally pushing these shields away from each other and creating a net in between each one, between the monad and between D1 and D2, between D2 and D3, between D3 and the density level Merkaba. So in the Merkaba and in the shields, it created this whole static interface. This is when our DNA really went to soup, because what it did here in the planetary fields is what it did inside of the natural structure of atoms in our body as far as the circulation of energies. It put static fields where they didn't belong, where things were pushing away from each other when they should have been opening flows of energy. But that allowed something interesting to happen. It allowed the place not to go into physical pole shift. It was the D2 shield was held in its counterclockwise position, because it would normally be counterclockwise spin. So it was held there. All the rest was allowed to reverse to a counterclockwise spin following the spin of the bottom spiral in the shield, and you ended up with them all going counterclockwise. And it meant that the physical, the D2 elemental body of the planet, didn't go through physical pole shift. Everything else pole shifted around it. However, that was when the static field was up. Now, at the point in time when that static field would come down, the monadic reversal would cause the D2 shield to reverse, and it would cause physical pole shift, which would be pole shift of the D2 elemental shield. Now, this we call it the Great Galactic Zero-Point Netting, because this started the Age of Darkness. The static field was a frequency field based on the 3421 that didn't rotate anymore. It just hung there. Because it didn't rotate, they couldn't broadcast anymore. Their vortices weren't spinning anymore. Because to shut ours down, they had to shut their own down. It began the Age of Darkness literally because their tandem technologies didn't work here anymore either. Once the shields were stopped, once the top spirals were, they couldn't open and use the wormhole vortices anymore. So all the technology, the Atlantean technology went out the window because you couldn't use it anymore. The open communication, the synthetic telepathy that they were beaming into everybody's head then, that was shut down. But so was the DNA, where people didn't remember anything anymore, because this, in their bodies, shut down the ability to pull in your own soul frequencies, which includes your memory of who you were before you came here and why you came. So this began a process. It was a process of mercy in one way, but it was a process of entering a stage of our evolution where we lost everything, but didn't even know we lost it, because we couldn't remember. And it's not so bad if you don't remember you lost it. Except then, from this time period on, there's been progressive invasions. They still came in. They couldn't come in quite as frequently. And progressively, more of their halls of Amente gates became damaged, or a few of them our guys got, protection control over. But they still visited up until the final sinking of Atlantis. But a lot of the technologies were shut down because they could no longer use the 3421 vortices. But they knew when the stellar activation cycle, the next one came, what their mission was. It was to get everything prepared. Everything they did from this point on was to get prepared for the New Age movement. The New Age movement in this time frame that was specifically designed to make sure the rest of this process finished so the beast could fully activate. So we went through from 13,400 BC. We went through the evolution with the shield spinning at reduced, remember, it started out at like 21 2/3, I believe, energy available spin. Now, it was reversed 7 7/9, which means it was actually sucking energy from the solar fields. You know, it was like drawing energy in instead of transmitting energy out, because it was on a drawing in counterclockwise spin. And the bottom spiral, 7 7/9, with top spirals immobile and a static field. Our bodies have evolved through this as well. Now, one more, I think, one more diagram.